I've been talking today to an entrepreneur who at 61 has no plans to retire. I think that one of the things that we are fortunate with in this day and age is that we can continue for as long as we want to continue. Here in the UK, the mandatory retirement age was taken away a few years ago. Also, if you're self-employed, you can work for as long as you want to. Now, there is a school of thought that has been voiced to me several times that older people should step aside. They should give up their jobs so that in a difficult employment market, there are more jobs for young people coming into the industry. And my answer to that is that we need all of us. We need an intergenerational workforce for us to have a well-rounded workforce. What's your experience of work and ageism in the workplace? I'd love to know. Please put in the comments anything that you'd like to add to this conversation. I've gone back onto LinkedIn because I'm looking for collaborators for the project that I want to study, which is about ageism, self-ageism, and how that affects our perception of ourselves and the way we age. And one of those things that I want to study is how it affects us in the workplace and our work. We talked about the fact that on LinkedIn, there's a lot of conversation now about how people are being asked or suggested that they should take years off their CV if they want to be interviewed. How sad is that? To actually have to hide your experience in order to be considered for work. Now, obviously, laws here in the UK, I'm sure in Europe, and I know in the US, it's not acceptable to turn somebody down for a job because they're over 50, because they're too old. So different language is used. Language like, oh, we need someone with a little bit more energy, or we need somebody who has experience in X, Y, or Z, which is perceived to be something that an older person wouldn't have. Things like technology. I would counter that with the fact that I'm at 64, nearly 65. I have learnt so many new skills. I'm a digital immigrant, not a digital native, as they say. And I've had to learn those things. And in a workplace, my guest today, Celine Egan, was saying that young people are there to mentor older people in these new modalities, such as AI and so on. But by the same token, we're there to mentor younger people. And I mentioned to Celine about how when I was doing brand photography, if I went into a business, particularly a very formal corporate environment, I would talk to the young people that came for their headshots. I talked to everybody. I didn't just poke a camera in people's faces and take a snap, because the way I got the natural looking photographs that I got was by connecting with people and helping them to relax. I always remember one young woman, I said to her, where do you see yourself going with the career that you're in? You know, what would you like to do? And she quite bashfully and very quietly said to me, I want to be the CEO. And I smiled at her and I said, good for you. That's great. Now, if you want to be a CEO, let's pose you like a CEO. And I adjusted her position and her posing, and the energy with which she came across in that photograph was CEO potential. Whereas before it was very much, oh, I'm a junior, whatever. I can't even remember what kind of company it was. I think that mentoring, even in that kind of informal way, is so important. And when we start writing off people because they've turned 50 or because their hair is beginning to go grey, we're losing out on so much. We've had a lot of discussion recently, haven't we, about menopause and about menopause in the workplace and what help women need to stay in work. So many women leave the workforce during perimenopause, and it's a huge loss because we're losing people in the workforce that have so much experience and so much to give, and we're losing them when they're not supported through what is a temporary phase in life. Older people bring different skills to the workplace. We need that energy of youth and the innovation that they want to bring, but we also need that steadying influence of older workers. We need people in the workplace who have been there, seen that, know how to deal with things, who can see patterns. And that is one of the ways in which our brains evolve as we get older, is that we see patterns more easily. Our pattern recognition gets better. Businesses are missing out if they have an ageist employment policy. I think that you'd agree with me on that. But I'd like to know what your experience is. Did you feel that you were eased out of your job or just thrown out of your job at 50 because of your age? Do you feel as if you have to dye your hair? You need to hide the signs of aging. On a more frivolous note, sometimes I'll watch a TV program just to kind of rest my brain. It's called Younger, and it's about a woman who goes back into the workplace after a divorce and bringing up her family, and she pretends that she's 26 instead of 40 in order to get the job. But the problem is she then has to act like a 26-year-old. And it's really interesting, actually, culturally, when you watch that program and you watch her interactions with her peer group, or her so-called peer group, and what they say about older women in the workforce. There definitely seems to be, in some areas, some industries, a divide between younger and older women and the value that they see in each other. I think it's about time, when we get to the age that we are, I think it's about time, if we haven't been supporters of other women before, now is the time. This competition is merely a tool that is used to set us against each other. Together we're stronger. Together we can make a difference in society, in the workplace, in our own lives, in our own heads. So I'm interested in your experiences. I'm looking forward to studying this in more detail alongside the other work that I'm doing. And if you're interested in this kind of thing and you're interested in these conversations, please do click subscribe, like this video, comment, get it out there into the algorithm so that we can have more conversations like this. I think it's important that we do. That's all for this week. I'm really looking forward to your point of view. See you soon.